Right. All right, guys. Welcome to another session. Today is 14th of January, 2020. So today we will look at what's a legal entity, okay, and financial statement versions. And yesterday we looked at what's external accounting, what is internal accounting, what is financial accounting, what is controlling, what is the purpose of controlling, what is the purpose of financial accounting, right? Just to recap, financial accounting is for external purposes, which actually have your template profit and loss. All the expenses are captured, and then they flow into, or the revenues are captured, they flow into financial accounting, which is a profit and loss statement. End of the year, you close the books, or end of the month, you close the books. And end of the year, when you close the books, what typically happens, right? If you have a high sales and less expenses, then you have a profit that goes into your debit side, net profit and loss, right? If you have more expenses and your sales is short on the credit side, then that's a loss, right? Now, what typically happens during the close? What would you do with the profit? Okay, what would you do with the profit? Is it right to call it a profit? So you have a profit and loss statement, income and expenses, right? Revenue and expenses. The end of the year, you have X amount of dollars, which is showing as a profit. So what would a company do with that? Can somebody explain? There's a company, big corporation, and the end of the year, when they close the books, when they say they close the books, when you say close the books, what typically happens is the profit and loss statement will close, and then the system will calculate whether it's a net profit or loss. Then let's say, assume you have a profit, right? What would happen to the profit?
It can be considered as an asset for the company.
Okay. It is not an asset, right? See, this is a concept you understand. When the company makes money, it is not their money, okay? It is investors' money, correct? Let's say the company makes $500 million income, not income, profit, right? They have to distribute this to the investors. So they cannot touch the money, correct? What they can do, they can distribute to the investors, shareholders, equity dividend, preference shareholders, correct? And then the rest of the money, they can use it for their future budgeting or future projects and so on. And then from there, they will also distribute to the CEO salary bonuses and performance bonuses for all the workers and so on, right? That's where the year-end bonus comes into picture. So your net profit is always a liability, okay? It will show up in your liability side because you have to distribute to the shareholders. And then it goes to your retained earnings account. Okay, it will go to your retained earnings account, which means your assets are more, your liabilities are less, and then the short is covered by your profit. So this goes into your retained earnings account. There's something called retained earnings account. So in SAP or in accounting, they don't call it net profit or loss. In a big corporation, they call it retained earnings account because that money has to be distributed to the shareholders and investors, right? Company is a legal entity. It is not owned by one person, correct? So when you start a company, the boss is an employee, right? He's a director, but he only takes the profit to the extent he invested the money, right?
Yes.
Right. So what's a legal entity? So that's what I'm going to talk about, right? So today we will cover org structures in SAP. And then we will look into the org structures, the definition of org structures, and what is a company code segment, what is a general data, and then end of the session, I will give you some exercise that you can post into SAP documents, okay? Right, so what is enterprise structure, okay? So I'm gonna pull some video, sorry. All right, you see it? Okay. So in the big corporations, right, they have lots of company codes. If you join any company, they have multiple company codes. I have guys working in big corporations. They are supporting like 10 company codes, 20 company codes, and all this stuff, right? So what's a company code? Company code is called a legal entity. So we will look at this today in SAP. Company code is called a legal entity. I'm sure some of you have already created in SAP. So company code called as legal entity. Why they call it legal entity? Anybody?
So based on that, all the legal actions of the company is taken, like a tax paying and everything.
Correct. So when you start a company, right? Let's say you start a business. What is the first thing you do? You go and register with the state. You go and register with the federal, right? Then you get a number, federal ID, tax registration ID, right? And then you get payroll ID. All this you will get from the government, right? So for that purpose, you have to register as a company. When you register a company, it could be partnership, it could be LLC, it could be corporation, right? You have to register with the state and the federal. Then you get a specific ID, like your state ID, your unique number. And why do you need that? When you communicate to the government, when you communicate to anybody, then you use this, right? Your state ID, your tax identification number or federal ID number to communicate to the government. So that's why we call it legal. The reason why they call it legal, right? It is an entity, but it's a legal entity. The company could be sued. If somebody, you don't register, I'm running a business, I don't register with the state, or I don't register with anybody, any government body or institutions, there's no control over me. Nobody can control, right? Can I go and open a bank account? No. Can I borrow some money? No. Even if I borrow some money, they cannot sue me, right? I'm not a company, right? I become an individual. So company code is a legal entity. Why they are saying legal entity is when you start a business, you have to register with all the state government bodies, federal bodies, and any government institutions in order to run the business. Make sense? And the financial accounting, which we talked about yesterday, which is for all the external reporting, IRS, shareholders, taxes, vendors, they all based on the company code. A company code is the only entity which can have its own profit and loss statement. Make sense? If you have multiple company codes, again, I give you all this example. Let's talk on a, so one of you have a company, a business, right? You have one sandwich store, you have a car dealership, and you have a furniture store, right? If this business owner will register 3 businesses with the government. So he will get 3 government legal entity. You create a 3 legal entity, and you'll get 3 different tax ID numbers. Why? Because the business is different, right? You cannot combine a furniture store with a sandwich store. You cannot combine a sandwich store with a car dealership. Correct? Have you seen anybody running everything together in one business under one company code? They can't, right? Because the rules and regulations, the governance applies to one sandwich store is not the same as with the car dealer. It's not the same as with the furniture store. Make sense? Tomorrow, government wants to promulgate the ordinance or governance or some kind of statement or some kind of tax policies specific to a furniture store. They can go after the furniture store, and they wanted to issue a health notice or hygiene notice to your sandwich store. So you have to have a different separate entity so they can go after you, right? That's why when they register a company, the government will ask, what is the classification? What exactly you do? There's only one option you can choose. If you choose multiple options, system will automatically reject. What? You doing a sandwich store, you're doing a furniture store, you're doing a car dealer, you are running a salon, you are running a franchisee? No. Make sense? That's called legal entity.
Jay, I
Yes,
have
sir.
a question.
Please.
It's like on the basis of region also, the company might have the different company codes, right? Even if the same business, but it's in different regions.
You can, but you don't have to. You can, right? So, for example, I have ice cream factory. Okay, I do ice cream. I'm running. I sell ice cream. I manufacture ice cream. I sell ice cream. Right? Geographically, I can just have one company code. Across the US, I can have one company code, right, which is dealing with the ice cream. All the food businesses.
Okay.
Correct? So we all know Coke and Pepsi. When I say Coke, what is a Coke? Coke is a brand, not a company, correct?
Yeah.
Nestle is a brand. Levi's is a brand, under which they have multiple operating company codes, right?
Yes.
So you can define whatever. Absolutely, is up to you. Geographically, you want to define multiple company code, yes, but you don't have to, right? So you can say, you know what? I have north, west, east, south, whatever it is. All the west coast, I have one company code. All the east coast, you have one company code. That doesn't explain me the operational efficiency, because your plant will be different. You cannot do cross. You cannot simply transfer one materials from one plant to another plant because of different company code, right? Make sense? That it has to be buy and sell. So it is very beneficial if we have one company code.
Got it. Okay.
Right? And then if I have two company codes, just imagine. That's a good point. Typically, creating a company code is a big deal in SAP. A lot of people, they do not want to do that. The clients, they do not want to do that because creating a company code is a big deal. But Deloitte would charge $500,000 for this easily. So they don't want to do that, right? So then if they don't want to create a company code, they have multiple org structure they can manage. They can use a profit center. They can use divisions. They can do multiple things. Okay, so typically when you talk about Coke or Pepsi or Levi's or GMC or Ford, right? You're just a brand, that's not a company. Under which they have multiple company codes. For example, let's say we talk about GMC. GMC will have lease one company code, but just for leasing, right? Car leasing. And then they can have one company code for all the trucks. They can have one company code for all the cars. So they can have one company code for all the warranties and repairs. They can have one company code for blah, 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 blah stuff. Okay. Same with Apple. Apple do the same thing. So they probably have 30, 40 company codes because they have multiple businesses. From outside, you look at it's one huge building, which is my Apple, right? So they have some legal procedures where they have to dissect the business. Make sense? It is also beneficial for the company if somebody is suing, right? Apple, just one company code, they will just go bankrupt instead of taking down the whole Apple, correct? Make sense? If you know Target, if you know Costco, right? Target, if you go Costco has Kirkland. They have that brand, this brand, there's so many brands, right? It's all belong to Costco. If Costco starts selling it, and if you have a legal suit against Costco, Costco will go bankrupt, right? That's why they have Kirkland. And they will say, okay, we change the brand, we close the company, start another one. Similarly, Target. If you go to Target, they have their own specific different companies which supplies to Target itself. Make sense? So that's all for legal purposes. Great. Now, if you look at this, the company code, okay? Company code is a legal entity. You can create multiple company codes. You can have multiple legal entities, correct? Now, there's a business area. Then there's a controlling area. There's a financial management area, okay? There's a sales organization, distribution channel, division, sales area, sales office, sales group, shipping point, warehouse number, plant, credit control area. So they have, just in financial accounting, okay, they have lots of org structure. And why they have org structures? Why don't they just call it company? Okay, org structures are created in order for, it's very simple, right? Divide and conquer, right? You can assign responsibilities. You walk into, like I said, G has 60,000 employees. You walk into G and ask, who would you ask, right? There's a specific responsibility. There's somebody assigned for credit control area. There's somebody specific for sales, somebody specific for divisional sales, somebody specific for reporting, right? So org structures are created in SAP, or even it's a common sense. It's all created just for assigning responsibilities, making somebody accountable. Make sense? So that's why in SAP, very important thing is everything starts with the org structures, organization structures. So now you're familiar what is company code. It's a legal entity which is used for financial accounting, which is used for financial accounting, and controlling is used for cost accounting or cost controlling. Okay, so these things you will remember. And then, so if you look at between the dotted lines, the sales organization, distribution channel, and division, so on. So these arrows they point to because they are assigned, right? So the client is something you log into SAP. So when you log into SAP, you know this is called a client. You see the client 800. Do you see it? Yes.
No, no.
Oh, you don't see my screen at all?
I can see Excel sheet.
Yeah, we can only see the Excel.
Oh, really? I'm sorry. You know, I have 3 screens here. My laptop is always busy. So let me try. Where's my control? Okay, stop sharing. Stop sharing, stop sharing, stop sharing. I want to do it again. Okay. Share screen 2. All right. So now you see it, right?
Yes, we can see
Okay.
it.
So this
I can see
is, yeah. So actually, sorry, this is what I was actually trying to explain. Why it would have been more helpful to get the concept when I was just explaining, right? So this is a company code, there's a controlling area. So company code is a legal entity. Okay, it's assigned to the client. Under the client, you create company code, right? And then there's a controlling area, which we saw. This is used for costing, cost controlling, all this good stuff. And then on top of that, they have operating constant. Okay, so the sales org you see here, this is used for your sales and distribution. When you make a sale, order fulfillment, post goods issue, delivery, all this happens here. And this sales organization is assigned to the company code. Why they call it sales organization? Because that is responsible for making all the sales. When I say making sales, order fulfillment, collecting orders, right? Processing orders, customer service, goods issue, dispute management, right? Customer redressal, customer service, or warranties, all this happens in the sales organization. And they are directly reported under company code. Correct? And then if you search in SAP, they have different versions. Okay, so it depends on whom you ask, right? So this is not a great picture, but it helps. See if I can pick something else. Right, so this is another version here, okay? So we see the client, right? Client is the highest in this org structure. You see it? Right, so client is highest in the org structure. Under client, we have chart of account, chart of depreciation, credit control area, controlling area, and all this stuff. Under that, we have company code, which means company codes are assigned to controlling area. Company code is assigned to chart of accounts. Company code is assigned to chart of depreciation. Company code is assigned to credit control area. And company code, make sense? On the left side, you have purchasing. For all the procurement functions, we have purchasing group. Under purchasing group, we have purchasing org. And then we have plant. Under plant, we have storage location, shipping point, and loading point. On the left right side, you have sales organization, which is assigned to the company code. Under sales org, we have distribution channel. Under that, we have division. And this is called sales office. Okay. Now, what is a client? Like I said, in SAP, when you log into SAP, you see this is called client. You see it? On the right side? Yes, no?
Yes.
Right, this is called a client. So when you log into SAP, you go here, you click here, right? It takes you to the client. That's called a client. So when you work in a company, typically they will say which client you're working on. When you say client, it is actually not necessarily your customer, right? You can say I'm working for Coke, great. But in SAP, this is called a client. Simple way to remember is the client bought the software, okay, 800. And they got multiple clients, one for regression, one for testing, one for pre-production, one for quality, one for production. They got multiple clients. So since we are doing the training and we have only one client, okay? Now under the client, we have company codes. Under the client, we have controlling area, chart of accounts, chart of depreciation, credit control area. And then you assign the company code to them, okay? And why? Right? So there's something called, okay, so so far good. Any questions?
No.
Right, so look at this guy here. This is a General Electric, okay? So the client is General Electric. And what is General Electric? It is not a company. It is a client or it is a brand, right? Under GE, they have different company codes. So aviation services, it's a completely different business. Lighting is different. Appliance is different. Aircraft engine is different, right? Recently, they acquired NBC. Not recently, but 5-6 years ago. Media, that is different, right? So you set up different company codes for different types of businesses. Okay. Right. So what we're going to do is let's log into SAP. That is in financial accounting, and then in CO there's a different org structure in controlling. Okay, we will look at that. So what we're going to do is, so how many people have successfully logged into SAP so far?
I'm still having issues, Jay. I've tried many times.
Okay.
The errors keep coming.
All right. Who is the raising hand?
I logged in successfully, Jay.
Okay, great.
I do. I also able to log in.
Great. How about Najaf? I think is having issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you log into SAP, there are a few things that you need to remember, right? This is called SAP EC Access. They call it SAP EC Access. Why they call it EC Access? This is where the users, okay, will post transactions. So look at SAP is a transactional system. SAP is what?
Transaction system.
Yeah, SAP is a transactional system. Okay, it is not an analytical system. So your data warehousing is an analytical system. They have BW, right? Business objects. It's a reporting tool. BW is an analytical system, which means it takes the data and processes the data and output for reporting. But SAP is a monster. It's a monstrous transactional system. It just processes the transactions. Make sense? Well, it has some inbuilt reporting, but for advanced reporting, then you have to use SAP BW, which is called Business Warehouse. Okay. Now, this is the SAP EC Access menu. This is where users will log in, will post transactions, will do all the necessary activities, right? And then consultant, you guys will also use this in order to test, right? Let's say a customer is posting a purchase order process. So he will go here and, for example, he will come here and he'll go to the menu and then open the purchase order process and then create a purchase order, right? Now, when for the customer, if she wants to create a purchase order, if she wants to post a document, it has to have all the configurations ready, right? It has to have the company code, it has to have the document types, it has to have the posting keys, it has to have the GL accounts and chart of account, chart of depreciation. All this should be readily available, which would be created by consultants like you. Now, when you create it, right, you also have to test it, right? So this is for the testing functions. You also use SAP EC Access. Why? How? Right? So let's do this here. This is SAP menu. Okay. So we are doing accounting, and there's also logistics. Okay. If you open logistics, what is called logistics? Anybody know what is logistics?
It's
Hmm?
it's a part of supply chain used
Uh-huh.
to transport and everything.
Correct. Yeah.
Transport
Logistics.
the goods.
Goods movement, right? Any goods movement happens under logistics. If there's a goods movement, that's called logistics, correct? Inbound, outbound, correct? Write off. Everything happens here under logistics. That's why we have plant maintenance, production process, sales and distribution, materials management.
Material handling.
What's that? Material handling.
Handling, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that comes under materials management. Right. So each, or if you open logistic, there's a materials management. It's a different module. Okay, it's completely different module. Under that, they get purchasing, inventory management, excise duty, logistic invoice verification, physical inventory, and so on. Okay, I would definitely encourage you guys to open each of them and make some sense out of it. Right. Next one is accounting, which is what we are learning. In accounting, we got financial accounting, we got financial supply chain management, controlling, enterprise controlling, SCM, investment management, project systems, and incentives commission management. There's so many things here. Real estate management, flexible real estate management, public sector management, bank applications. So these are the things come under accounting, which also includes control. Okay. Any idea what is financial supply chain management? We know supply chain. What's called financial supply chain?
Is it the path through which the like financial transaction goes?
So, right, you know what's called supply chain, right? Supply chain is your goods in demand and demand forecasting and all this stuff, right? Supply chain. The goods movement in your supply chain from source to the consumer, correct? So the goods you're procuring, what is the purpose of you're buying goods, you're buying raw materials? What is the purpose, right? You buy raw materials, what is the purpose? Why are you buying raw materials?
Max.
To put them into
Produce
production.
product.
Exactly, to put them into production. And why do you produce, right? To sell. And why do you sell, right? So that you make revenues, right? And then with just a simplified, gloriously simplified process, but however, it's not that easy, right? Production has its own challenges, settings, configurations. Selling has its own, right? And collecting money is its own. So everything that's a financial part is involved, right? That's called supply chain. So for example, if you open this, credit management, it's a supply chain, financial supply chain, right? You have to assess somebody's credit. You can't just like that sell to a customer, right? You have to assess his credit. Because if you sell to a customer who has a bad credit, that affects your financial supply chain, correct? Correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So it's basically you can say cash flow, right? You can also say cash flow, but it's more than a cash flow, right? So collect, say for, cash and liquidity management, collections management, dispute management, bank communication management. This is a pretty new model. Treasury and risk, all this come under financial supply chain management, right? So then under controlling, we have cost element accounting, cost center accounting, internal orders. I'll definitely encourage you to open each of those and open it. See, cost element accounting, open it, master data, open each of those. So if you open this node, it will open up, right? There's multiple nodes here. This is the end nodes. This is where the transaction appears. Okay. So, so you know this part is called SAP EC Access Menu. So I'm going to go to General Ledger. So under financial accounting, we have GL, AP, AR, banks, fixed assets, special purpose ledger, lease accounting, travel management, shared services center, and then, let's say 1 month or 2 months, if it is a training, your resume will have all the details. So you better become familiar with this, right?
Yes.
Right. So general ledger, document entry. So enter GL account document. Okay. So this is where the user will dutifully, religiously go and post some transactions. So entering a journal voucher is a basic thing in accounting, correct? They call it JV, journal voucher, or JE, journal entry, right? They call it journal entry or journal voucher. This is where they post some transactions. And look at this guy here, document date, posting date, reference, okay? And document header text and the company code. Like I said, the company code is a legal entity. For any posting of transactions into financial accounting, you need a company code, right? And you have GL accounts, debit and credit, amount, and so on, right? So great. So far clear? So this is one way you use for your posting transactions. Now, you can actually go here and execute one by one, or if you know the transaction code FB50, you can execute here, FB50. This is where you enter transaction, FB50. See, right? So that's why you guys should know before your first job, before your next job, you should know at least 30 transaction codes in SAP. Minimum 30, okay? In India, if you go for interview, there's still guys ask for a transaction codes. They love transaction codes. Okay, so like at the 50, at the 02, you know, I will probably remember some of them. You should remember the transaction codes. You can put this is called transaction code box, you can enter this, okay? Now, second thing, how many sessions you can open, right? So I'm working on one session. I can create 6 sessions. One, see, so I have 2 sessions here. Actually, I have 3, right? So I can run some reports in this session. I can post some transactions into another one. I can open and close period in another one. Similarly, it's like a browser. How many browsers you can open? Pretty much unlimited, as long as your system supports. But in SAP, we can create 6 sessions. Okay. Now, another important thing to know is when you post a transaction code here, there are 2 things. You always put \n. Okay. So if you're on ECS in this screen here, you can just use transaction code 50. Okay. Now, if you want a different screen, let's say you are in the screen and you wanted to execute another transaction code, okay, you can, if you put \n, n means end. N means what? End. If you put \n, that means it's end the screen, and then it opens another FB02. See, that screen is gone. Let's say again, I want to keep the screen, but I want to open another session, another transaction code. I put \o for open. Okay. O for
Open.
Open.
Right,
open and end, right? So it's very important. Now, if I just put FB50 here, it won't work. The transaction code will not work. Because when you're on the screen, system is asking you to put some information here. Don't skip from here. It is expecting some details here because because you came to this transaction code to do something. So if you put another transaction code, it won't work unless you either end the session or open another session. Make sense?
Right.
FB50. If I do FB50 here, it opens another session. Okay. Right. Now this is the good stuff. So this is all where your customers will post. Now where the consultants work, there's something called SPRO. SPRO. There's some people say PRO. Okay. Some people like to abbreviate everything, right? SPRO. So it goes SPRO, it says customizing. Customizing execute project. So you click here, SAP reference IMG. What is IMG? IMG stands for implementation guide. So I click here from SPRO. Now I want to go back here, \n. Simple, SPRO. Then SAP reference IMG, implementation guide. So look at this guy here. There's so many models, right? from SAP banking, payroll, time management, personal management, professional services, there's so many models. So we're going to work on this area, financial accounting, this one, new, controlling, right? So let's go to financial accounting. So before you do everything, there's enterprise structure. So we saw enterprise structure is also called org structure. It's also called as what? Org structure. Okay. So in org structure, like I mentioned, every module has its own org structure. Every module has its own org structure, correct? So in let's open financial accounting. Here you see these are org structure. Company, credit control area, company core, business area, function area, consolidation business area, financial management area, segment, profit center. These are your org structure under financial accounting. And if you open controlling, okay, controlling area, cost centers, operating concern, these are your org structures. And like I mentioned, what's the purpose of org structure? Can somebody tell me what is the purpose of org structure?
It's help us to create the legal entities under which the.
What's the purpose of org structure? You know what? I'll tell you. I'm a notes taker. Okay, I like to take notes. Okay, otherwise it's just boring listening to somebody talking, right? I have another video in my YouTube channel. I think it's called First Aid at Client Place or something. I would encourage you to watch it. First Aid Client Place. I give some tips. People watch that video. Some people say it's helpful, but some people say I'm very threatening in the video. Very important thing, you work in a company is you have to take notes. Whether don't take a laptop, that's secondary. Take a pen and a scribbling pad. Very important, wherever the meeting is. The Indians tend to carry a laptop wherever they go. You don't need to, right? You're a professional. If you have 8 years of SAP experience and you're walking into a company, right? Very important thing is taking notes. Whatever they say, just try to take notes. Okay. Number 2, take a water bottle. Very important. Okay, these are the things that show you have some professional background in US. Okay. So what I was trying to say is just scribble. Okay. Take a piece, keep always a notebook next to you, even when you give interview. Okay. Try to take notes. When I say org structure, what is the purpose of org structure? You just write it down. There's a direct connection between your hand and your brain, right? So I'm asking you again, what is the purpose of org structure? Which I mentioned 3-4 times. Can somebody? Sindhucha?
Organization structure which helps the functioning easy.
That's not what
it
I said.
improves the feasibility of the functioning of the organization.
No, that's not what I said. Harman?
Well, organizational structure, you need it so you know where to assign the costs and like not company codes, but under chart of accounts where things are going.
Yeah. No, I didn't explain that. I did not say chart of accounts. I did not say any of those. I specifically used a couple of, see guys, I've been teaching SAP for 18 years. Okay. Don't guess my age. But I am very specific on, I'm also certified many years ago. Okay. I know what exactly SAP has defined each of those, right? That's the base. So you have to remember those. What's the company code? You have to remember this. There's no alternate meaning towards it, right? There's no assumption, guesswork. There's nothing like that, right? So when I say org structure, who can answer? Timmy.
I would say it's like definition of how the organization, including like allocation of maybe it's a different.
Okay, well, I said org structure is to create responsibilities and accountabilities. This is exactly I said. Right?
Jay, can you just repeat that once again?
Org structure, why they create org structures, right? To create accountability and assign responsibilities. Right? You have multiple company codes, you have multiple business area, you have multiple divisions, you have multiple credit control area, right? So one, you can create multiple credit control areas. What's the purpose of credit control area, right? Let's say in a big company, they have multiple credit control areas. One is for a foreign customers, one is for domestic customers, one is for government customers, right? So that you can go to directly the right person. A CEO, right? He cannot manage everything. A company like GE, right? They're easily $150 billion business. So they have diversified business like lighting, appliances and media, right? So they have individual CEOs, individual vice presidents, individual directors, right? Individual sales organization, individual business area, credit control area. These are for what? To create responsibility, accountability, and assign responsibilities, right? How many people did not write it down? There's no jumping for, there's no jumping ahead. Okay, I know what I'm teaching, what is good for you. Okay, if you wanted to jump ahead, it is not useful. Okay, I really focus on the basics. The base is very important, right? Then you can fly. Right, starting and the ending is very important. Anyways, so these are all the enterprise structures in financial accounting, and then you also have controlling. Great. So what we're going to do today is, I will let you can watch my videos and create it, the company code and all this stuff, right? What I want to show you here is, let's say I have a company code here. What makes the company code operational in SAP? What makes the company code operational in SAP, right? So you create a company code, what next? So in order to run a business, okay, so let's it's all common sense, okay? I'm trying to map with your existing skills, and then you know, some of you have done your MBA and you have some work experience. I'm trying to map SAP into your existing skill set, okay? Now, when you have a company, you register a company, right? What do you need? What do you need next to run the operations? Can somebody tell me?
Open the bank account.
Correct. Who's that?
Jeff.
Jeff. Okay. So in order to open a bank account, what do you need?
Legal entity.
We need all legal entity.
Oh, so you have a company. You set up a company. You applied with the Secretary of State, California. You got the California Secretary of State number. You registered. You got the articles of association, right? Self-incorporated. So you got the tax ID. What next?
Yeah.
What do you need next?
Income statement, like financial statement, forecasted financial statement.
Well, that comes in the last, right? You have to have income first, right? What do you have to do for generating income? What do you have to do to report income?
Production.
right? Okay, so you start producing. What do you need to produce?
All materials.
Okay, how do you get material?
We have to purchase the order.
From where?
From suppliers
From
And
suppliers,
supply will send it to where?
to a warehouse.
warehouse.
And you need a warehouse, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So when you set up a company, first you need a location to run a business, right?
Yes.
Mm, yes.
To operational. So you define here where you are going to, you need an address.
Right.
You need an address. And then number two, right? So once you have a company code, number two, you have to define, you have to tell the IRS what is your fiscal year. What is what?
Fiscal year.
What is a fiscal year? Armand?
That would be the year, your company registers for tax purposes.
Okay.
Like the number of days you operate or.
Right. Correct. So if Sindhuja is wondering what is fiscal year is you define the state or the government, right? What is your calendar year? Yes, financial year. That's a good term. Financial year. Is it from January to December or April to March, right? Or you run a business for 6 months, you run a business for 1 whole year, all this stuff. You have to specify, right? Why?
Right.
And why you have to do that?
For the tax.
Exactly. You have to close your books and file taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's companies who run the business from January to December. They have fiscal year, which is a calendar year. And they close the books in December and they pay taxes in the month of March. Right? By April 14th, whatever time frame, right? They will do it. But there are some companies which choose to do business from February to January, from March to February, from April to March, right? From October to September. They can do whatever they want. Correct? There's no hard and fast rules on this. So you have to notify the government on when is your what is your calendar year, so that the government will come after you. Hey, dude, you already close the books, pay me the tax, right? Make sense?
Yes.
That's called fiscal year variant. So every company code has to have a fiscal year variant. Okay, that's very important. So number two, you need a location. You need to specify what's your fiscal year because you have to start recording transactions. Right? When you buy, you just don't simply buy, right? You have to have a ledger. You have to have a books. Then you have to have a books to register. Okay, and then what next? So you have a company, you have an ID, location. What else? Somebody's already yawning.
Is the currency on
Good.
defined?
Exactly. So you have to define what currency you are running business in. Okay. Right. And if you're registering in US, it is not automatically US dollars, right? Your operating currency. What is your operating currency? Right. You have to define in SAP, right? And then when I say fiscal year variant, right? Can a company, okay, why fiscal year variant is very important is there are companies who just do business for 6 months. Right? And they have different calendars. In Arabia, they have different calendars. They have Friday holidays, right?
Right.
On the other countries, they have Saturday, Sunday holiday. In Arabia, I know it's just Friday's holiday, maybe Sunday too, I don't know. Right? So they have different calendar. And some businesses, they only run for 6 months. Right? They don't have to run for entire 1 year. There are businesses, right? Agriculture businesses. Companies in Alaska, right? They only open for
Season.
3-4 months, seasonal businesses, and they don't
Seasonal
have to. Correct. They just close the business. They shut it down. They report to the IRS and they shut it down. Nobody comes to work, right? So that's why the fiscal year variant is very important. A lot of companies in China, they only open 6 months in a year because they focus for Thanksgiving. So they do all the productions, leather goods, this and that, and then some companies specifically open for 3 months for what do you call that? Valentine's Day, or they focus on US holidays or Christmas. They start in June, July, and they close in September. They finish all the goods exported and they go home. They shut it down, right? They come back and do the same business in next year. So that's why fiscal year variant is important. Okay, you have unique currencies and you also have parallel currencies. Your group company is in Europe, right? You also need a parallel currencies. Let's say you have international company. Your group company, your group CEO is from Frankfurt, right? He wants all the reporting to be done in Frankfurt, Europe. So you can define multiple parallel currencies. Okay. Boring?
No.
I think for others is boring.
No.
Right. So they call a company called Global Data. So what I wanted to do is, now you know where to get there, right? So there's obviously a recording. I'm going to send it to you. Stop. Okay. Enter global parameters. Alrighty. So take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So let's see. This is a company code 001. Okay. What I want you to do is each of you, take a company code from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So what you're going to do is, I want you to write it down, all the details, send it to me. Okay. What's my chart of accounts? What's my company? Okay. What's my credit control area? What's my country chart of accounts? What's fiscal year variant? What is global company code? What's VAT registration number, and so on? What is field stated variant? What is posting speed variant, and so on? You write this down and then give you a short notes on what they are. What is the purpose of this? Okay. Again, there's a lot of contents available in YouTube or in a Google search. What is posting period variant? What is field status variant? Okay. But the thing I taught you in the last 1 hour, I don't think you will find any of them in YouTube or Google. Okay. So, so what I want you to do is, let's do this. SAP AGS. Sindhuja, you do 001. Okay. Sindhuja, say yes.
Okay.
And then Herman, 005.
Okay.
And then Shaz, 006. 0006.
Okay.
Thank you. And then Najaf, 0007.
Okay.
Not 7. Okay. Not 7. And then Timmy.
Yes.
Timmy.
Yes.
Okay, you will do 008. Okay.
Okay.
And then is anybody missing? Timmy, Najaf, Chandra, are you on the call?
Yes, Jay.
All right, Chandra, you would do 008. Okay. Write it down.
What you wanted to write down the global parameters?
Exactly, global parameters, and then tell me what do they do exactly.
All right.
Fiscal year and K4, what does it do? Global company code, what's the purpose of global company code? What's the purpose of field status?
You wanted to know the definition of each field.
Exactly.
That's what you said, right?
Exactly, and write down what value it is. What's the
All right,
value?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, pretty much everything. Proposed fiscal year, business area statement. So how do you know this, right? You press
Right.
here, press F1. F1.
Yep.
If you press F1, Microsoft beautifully built this F1 functionality. You will see the definition of this. Okay.
All right.
So even if you understand a little bit, that's fine. Okay. The reason I'm saying is I want you to really open your eyes. SAP is really big, huge. I'm telling you, our gentleman Chandra,
Yes, sir.
right? He has a lot of he has experience. He
Bad
was
and
kid-
good.
Yeah. Yeah. He felt like he was in a Shark Tank. Okay.
I
So
did.
I'm sure he wished he knew this before. Okay. So everything that you have seen once is very important. Okay.
Right.
It's all how you become familiar. What's coming up next, right? So you have to be very
List out each field and give the definition of it. That's what
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And with that, you can have fun, watch other videos, and create your own company code. But that's been done to death. Tomorrow, what I'm going to do is post some entries. Okay. So I'm going to teach you some post entries, and then there is a video which I will share right after the class already, which you can watch and then try to post some entries. Okay. So two things. One is the global parameters, and you know where to go exactly. Okay. You come here. FB01 postings. Where is it? FB01. Where is that? Okay. Yes, this is a simple addition.
FB0.
Right. I'm going to send that video right after we finish the class. So finish the global parameters and send it to me same time by 12 o'clock. And then also, I'm going to send the other video. If you can watch the video and post documents, that is great. Again, these videos are self-explanatory. You can pick up this data is available in the system as long as you can access, right? You have access, you can try to do this, and then we will see tomorrow. We have no other questions. Any questions?
No.
Any questions?
Jay, I just want to know if is there anybody that could help me set up the like SAP on my computer? Because I just feel like I'm going in circles. I keep getting the same errors. I've tried to look online.
Okay. Anybody what Lokesh? Okay, I'm going to pass this recording now. All right, guys. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. We can sign off if you have no questions.